Welcome to the Scrum.org Community Podcast, a podcast from the home of Scrum. In this podcast, we feature professional Scrum trainers and other Scrum practitioners sharing their stories and experiences to help learn from the experience of others. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to the Scrum.org Community Podcast. I'm your host, Dave West, CEO here at Scrum.org. This episode is part of a series of interviews of the participants in the Google's Project Management Certificate Program, formerly known as Grow with Google. Some of you may know of it in that guise. And many of you know, if you've listened to other episodes of our interviews, that Scrum.org is part of that program. I'm very fortunate today to have with me somebody calling in, I'm not even sure we say that anymore, calling in from the United Kingdom, from just outside London, Nancy Martinez. She's a project manager working in the technology space now, or the engineering space. Nancy was originally from Spain. And now lives in, like me, she's moved somewhere else. She lives in London, the UK. Hello, Nancy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. And I know for our listeners, Nancy's a little bit nervous. This is perhaps, is it your first podcast ever?
Yeah, it's not my first interview, but it's my first podcast. Yes.
Oh. So it's very exciting. So I guess let's start at the very beginning. Tell us and tell our listeners about your experience with the Grow with Google Project Management Professional Program. God, that's a mouthful. How did you find it? Where were you at? I know you were probably living in Spain, or maybe you just moved to the UK. Why did you choose it? Tell us your story, Nancy.
Well, my story is a little bit peculiar, I will say, because I was already in London. When I moved here, I was hired from Spain by a company here in Harlow, where I live, actually. And they just hired me because they were looking for somebody that can process letters of credit, which is just one banking product that many companies use for trading. So I don't know why there's no people in UK that can do that, but I was hired to do that here. A part of that, I have always worked in the export-import sector. So I'm a specialist in export and import processes. So I started working here in UK because of that. But after like 3 years, I was like, this is just the same every day. I was like looking for something else. And also I'm a single mother with 2 children. And I was looking for another career path that can allow me to grow professionally. And where I was, that was it. That was the top I can go or I can reach. So then just talking with my family, my brother was like, why don't you study something? And I was like, well, I'm already 40 something years. I don't know if it's the time or it's already late for me to start trying to change my career path. But I started to investigate, and I discovered Coursera. And in Coursera, I discovered a Google Project Management Certificate. What I did is that I didn't go into it directly. I started listening to the first episode or session, and it was like, wow, this is what I like to do. I have been doing this without any certificate for many years, because my career in export-import is I have been living in Nigeria for many years, Spain, now in UK, and I have been doing trading and working with people, companies, business people from many countries, and you have to, organize and plan everything that you do, and even organize things for your, like commercial trips and things like that for your customers. So it was like a kind of I was able to identify myself with that. And when I started go into it more deeply into the course, the certificate, it was like my head exploded, like, wow, this is really nice. And I was able to understand the process, and I was like, what have I been doing all this time till today, and why didn't I know this before? It was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And then I decided that I want to do the certificate. It was 6 months certificate, but I did it in 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Because it was like just like absorbing a lot of information that was so interesting for me. And actually, when I arrived to the Scrum section, it was like, what is this again? Like my head exploded again, like, wow, this is really, really, really nice. And I couldn't understand it very well because at the beginning they explained to you the process of a project, just a linear process of doing a project management. And then when they started with sprints and Scrum, and I was like, what is this? But it was really, really, really interesting and really nice. And I was able to understand why it has changed and why you really need something different or more flexible, more agile. But at the same time, at the beginning, I was like, agile, agile, agile. But later, now I can say that I'm hybrid. Like, yes, it's very important to do, or in many sectors, it can be very useful to do sprints, but not everything has to be like that, because you really need other processes that the traditional project management process allows you to have. So yeah, now I'm hybrid, I can say.
Well, that's good to hear. And obviously, yes, not everything is agile, though. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I kind of like agility, and I like Scrum. So I just, and we'll come back to Scrum in a moment, Nancy, but I'd like to sort of push in a little bit or lean into the experience with the program. You said it, 6 months, you came to it from Coursera. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about what was the program like?
The program was, I recommend it to everybody because it's something really, really light to understand. The way, I think there's a lot of job behind, because the way they explain the videos, how they are taking you through all the subjects in the program is really, really, I really think there's a lot of job behind for you to really understand and, like in a nutshell, give you a lot of information, which is really difficult. And they have been able to achieve it, which is really good. So yeah, they start like in something simple, the more simple explanation of what is project management. And then after they start to go deeper into each of the subjects that you need to know for you to be able to understand what is project management, and all the phases that you have to go through for you to execute a project in a way that it will be as for you to deliver in a right way. And also a part of that, they go into what is agile, what is Scrum, and other methodologies that you may also encounter in your career, or maybe not, but they are important to know as well, which was very, very helpful for me, because through that I started study by myself other methodologies, and interested in other things like Scrum and or XP, and many other methodologies. Then after that, I did another course, which was the project management from Google. Helped me to understand many of the terminology that I was listening in that course. So yes, it was really, really, really nice. I have a friend in my place of work now that she tried to do twice the PFQ, and she wasn't able to pass it. And I was telling her, if you do the Google Project Management Certificate, it will be easier for you, because they really give you what you need to know in a totally different way. Something that you go through every day or every week, and you have like a teacher that is teaching you and is, taking you through all the information. So yeah, it has been really, really helpful for me to do the certificate, for me to also understand Scrum, because I study for me to have the Scrum Master certificate as well by myself, with all the information that is in the website and all that. But I think that because I have that background of the certificate that I just did, I was able to understand better what was Scrum, because yes, Scrum is very simple, very light material or subject, but at the same time, there's a lot into it for you to understand. And yeah, I think the Google certificate also helped me to understand Scrum more deeper.
That's awesome. Yes, it's 10 minutes to understand it, a lifetime to practice it, we often say. So that's really, now I guess that I'm sure our listeners are wondering, okay, so you took the Grow with Google Project Management Professional Program, you got the certificate, you passed PSM1, which is a tricky exam, I know, because I participated in the creation of the questions. So good job there. I'm really glad you passed that and did the studying. Then what happened, Nancy? What happened next?
Well, when you're doing the Google certificate, the last bit of it is for you to do your project, your plan for the future. And that is what I did. I did a plan for the future. I stated what were my goals, objectives, KPIs for 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. Where do I want to be?
Yeah,
I think I have achieved most of it. You have to work hard. And I think that I was for a year, a part of the certificate, I was for a year working and studying. And then after that, I spent months looking for a job, because what I wanted to do, I couldn't do it where I was. So I have to just move to another company. And I applied for millions of jobs.
Hopefully not really millions, but not quite a lot.
But quite a lot. It was just like, wow. And then my goal wasn't to arrive or to start as where I'm starting now. It was lighter than that. It was less than that, because you are now in the project management sector, but you can start as a junior project manager or assistant project manager, or something that is, you are not really a project manager yet. But I started as a project manager, and with a salary of a project manager. I just want to change my career path. And then after months, it was like, well, I'm just applying. I don't think I'm going to. I had very nice interviews, but at the end of the day, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And this last one was like just another one. And they asked me, how much do you want to be paid? And I just say, well, this is what I want. I don't think they're going to come back to me, but they did. And that is how I got the job. And they really appreciated that I did the Google Project Management certificate, and that I had the Professional Scrum Master certificate. I mean, this is a company that was able to appreciate that. And also I did also the PFQ before entering to, well, I was having the PFQ as well. So they saw that I was investing a lot on my professional career. I think they also thought, well, she looks like serious on that. Then after, when in the second interview, they did like a very tough exam of almost 2 hours for them to know whether I really know about project management or not. It was tough, but I passed it. So yeah.
That's fantastic. That's great. And I think for our listeners, this proving that you actually care about your career, having that project plan with KPIs and everything talks about the things that you're trying to achieve, and communicate that potential employers can be as valuable as experience. I mean, it really can. So that's a great message. I really, really do appreciate. So I guess, there's a couple of last questions. We're coming up to the end of our time. First question is, what's next for you, Nancy? What's your sort of journey? Are you continuing some professional development, adding some other certificates, maybe things like PSM2, or maybe the PMI, or in the UK Prince and Prince 2, obviously, are really thing. What's your next journey? I'm really excited to hear.
Well, my plan still going on, and there are a lot of KPIs that I haven't achieved yet, because it's like long-term achievements that I want to do. And I'm really interested in risk management, and I'm thinking about having a certificate on that, or maybe just to learn more about that. And now in this job that I am right now, every day I can feel the need, how Scrum Masters are needed, because it's something that you can't really, if the person hasn't heard about Scrum before, he might not understand it, because it's not a project manager, it's a Scrum Master, which is totally different. But I can see the need of it. We are in a team of project and program managers, and there are people that they are acting as Scrum Masters without even knowing. Maybe they don't really have the routines that you will understand as a Scrum Master, but what you're doing is you're a Scrum Master and you don't know. And I really want to learn more about it, because I want to grow in the company, and I think is one of the things that can help me on that.
Oh, that's awesome. And yes, the helping people to get better at their craft ultimately is the calling that all of us need to follow, in my opinion. So it's great to hear that. And talking about risk, I just recently finished General Stanley McChrystal's book on risk, a user guide. I recommend it. It's really, really interesting, and a very pragmatic approach to risk management. So just sort of like a little aside there for our listeners and for yourself, Nancy. It's funny that you mentioned that, because it literally, I finished it last evening. That's how exciting the books that I read are at night, which is good. So So the last thing, if you're listening, what should, if the listeners are sort of listening to this, they've heard your story, maybe you've inspired them. What would you say that their next step should be, Nancy? What do you think they should do?
If they haven't get the certificate yet, well, if you haven't gone through the Google Project Management certificate, I really, really encourage you to go through it, because it's really, really helpful if you really want to know more or go deeper into the project management sector. It looks like, well, is not the PMI or the APM, like something more, I think that people know more, or companies maybe appreciate more or understand more because they have been there for a longer time. But there's nothing different. I mean, I learned almost exactly the same when I was doing the Google certificate than when I did the PFQ with the book. It was basically the same. Even the Google certificate was more detailed because it was also taking you through other methodologies, more agile things that the PFQ doesn't really go into it. And that is very important right now, because if you just want to do or understand the linear process of project management, you are obsolete. You are not in business any longer.
Well, so, I need that to be on our website, Nancy. That sounds great.
That is the truth. There's no company now that is linear in any way. You really need to expand your views and understand that you really need to be agile in many, many things, in many, many ways in your job, even if you are not changing careers. But it's really helpful for you to go into the certificates, because it's also explaining to you that it's something that you can use in your personal life, which is true. I use it every day for, to organize myself with my children and, all these, because the schools, they give you a lot of work, a lot of stuff to do. And I have to be organized on that, because if not, but Mom, don't you remember that we have this? I can't be remembering everything, So the certificate helped me to know how to, schedule myself in other areas of my life, which was really, really helpful. It really changed me in many ways, the way I approach things, now I'm not anxious. I have to do parents, whatever, this and that. No, everything is more planned, and I like that.
That sounds awesome. So, listeners, you heard it here from Nancy Martinez, a project manager who went through the Google Project Management Professional Program and got the certificate, and also passed PSM1. The first step is just do it. These are not just skills for changing careers, they're really life skills, which I think is a great message. Some days, though, I wish that I could better project manage my children, Nancy, but I guess that's a desire that all of us have. Sometimes work is easier. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for taking your Friday evening from a dark and dismal London. Thank you for taking the time today to speak to us. And for our listeners, this is part of a series of interviews with participants of the Google Project Management Certificate Program. I'm your host, Dave West, here, CEO at Scrum.org. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, Nancy. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.